Good evening. I'd like to call the May 7th, 2018 Old Bridge Township meeting to order, please. Can you rise? We're going to do a Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to do a moment of silence and a prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment of silence for those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Mr. Peschitti, the prayer, please.
O Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give them quiet minds and hearts that they may hear thy voice. Help them to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give them strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right. And grant that they have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, May 21st, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Cahill.
Here.
Dr. Greenberg.
Here.
Mr. Merwin.
Present.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Peschitti.
Here.
Mr. Rizzoli.
Here.
Mrs. Walker.
Here.
President Sohar.
Here.
9 present.
Good evening, everyone. First, we would have proclamation certificates. Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
Before we get started tonight, you'll note there's an executive session where we're going to take action after we come out of executive session. There are 2 resolutions that are going to be taken up for action. One is the resolution rejecting all bids on the EMS bids that went out. And the second is a resolution to approve competitive contracting on an EMS bid.
Is that it, Ken? Thank you. Okay, so next will be the proclamation certificates. Mayor?
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, Council. Tonight I have 2 proclamations to read. Both concern safety. The first one I'm going to be reading is International Code Council Building Safety, proclaiming Building Safety Month of May 2018. Joining me up here is Pat Reardon, our code enforcement official. Pat, this is for the guys that work for you and the Fire Bureau and everybody in town that keeps our buildings safe. Whereas the Township of Old Bridge, Middlesex County, State of New Jersey, is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. Our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians. Building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. These guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a U.S.-based organization that brings together local, state, and federal officials that are experts in the built environment to create and implement these high-quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, and play. Whereas our nation benefits economically and technically from using the international codes that are developed by a national voluntary consensus codes and standards developing organization. Our government is able to avoid the high cost and complexity of developing and maintaining these codes, which are most widely adapted building safety and fire prevention codes in the nation. These modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters, such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, and earthquakes. Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown guardians of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us a safe, efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to keep America great. Building codes save lives. The theme for Building Safety Month 2018 encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of building safe and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, and new technologies in the construction industry. Building Safety Month 2018 encourages appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure that places where we live, learn, work, worship, and play are safe, and recognize that countless lives have been saved due to the implementation of safety codes by local and state agencies. Each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Owen Henry of the Township of Old Bridge, Middlesex County, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2018 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage all citizens to join their communities in participation of Building Safety Month activities. Thank you. God, thank you. My next proclamation. The President of the United States and Congress have designated May 15, 2018 as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is celebrated during the National Police Week, May 11th through May 17th. Whereas in every American community, committed law enforcement officers watch over our neighborhoods and work to make our nation a safer, more peaceful place. The members of the law enforcement agency of the Township of Old Bridge play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the Township of Old Bridge. We observe National Police Week and National Peace Officers Memorial Day. We honor the men and women who serve in the cause of justice and pay tribute to those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. We owe a lasting debt to all those who sacrificed their lives while serving and protecting their fellow citizens. These fallen officers live on in our national memory. As Americans whose courage and commitment have shown the true meaning of heroism, we offer our respect and prayers to their loved ones. Now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, do hereby proclaim the week of April 11th through May 17th as National Police Week and acknowledge May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day with appropriate ceremony and observances in which all of our citizens may participate in commemorating law enforcement officers past and present who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Thank you. God, thank you. Accepting it. Thank you, Council. I know they were a little long.
Oh, no, it's okay. They were very nice. Thank you, Mayor. Next will be approval of minutes of previous meetings. Approval of minutes combined meeting, March 5th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
That doesn't matter.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be the bill listing. Mrs. Walker?
Bill list, May 7, 2018. Accounts payable, May 7, 2018, $18,794,865.88.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Pasquini.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, April 27, 2018, $967,329.21.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Pasquity.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, April 27, 2018, $55,854.81.
Do I have a breakout, please, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, Council President, thank you. As Councilwoman Walker indicated, the total overtime was $55,854.81. There was an uptick in Public Works Department. There were two issues there. There was overtime related to heavy rain, storm, and flooding that they had to deal with it. And also, if you recall, a couple of meetings back, Council authorized a settlement agreement with the Public Works Union. And so their settlement included retroactive pay dating back to 2016. That is included in that. For the police department, the total overtime was $36,253.64. When you deduct the grant of $6,730.22, and they deduct for ETO $6,169.80, the net overtime for police department was $23,353.62, representing 549.50 men and women hours. There was one officer injured on duty, and there were also investigation-related overtime. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw. Do I have a motion for the overtime?
Move it.
Second.
So it's moved by Mr. Pasquity and second by Mr. Merwin.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
And that concludes the bill list.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Next is public hearing and ordinances for second reading. H1, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Foxborough 2, Rolling Meadows, LLC, Woodward Drive, application 89-93P. Good evening, Mr. Small. How are you? Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
Fred Iskowitz, ISKOWITZ, on behalf of Foxborough Village 2 and Rolling Meadows LLC.
Good evening.
Apender Samal, representing Nico Shapiro, Township engineer.
We have submitted, sent out
Could-
notices.
Excuse me, could you use the mic, please? Thank you.
We've sent out notices to the proper individuals pursuant to the list provided us by Linda Gale. Proof of service has been provided to the township. The notice was published in the Home News Tribune. An affidavit of publication has been provided, and we're seeking the reduction of the bond and return of the cash deposits.
We are recommending a release of the performance guarantee. I'll read out from the memo dated March 29, 2018, for this release. The road known as Woodward Drive was constructed under the Foxborough Village 2 project to provide access from Ferry Road to the Rolling Meadows subdivision, comprising 26 single-family homes. The installation of the top course of the pavement for Woodward Drive, the sidewalk, and the ADA ramps were bonded under a separate bond from that of the Rolling Meadows development. The performance guarantee for Rolling Meadow was released in the year 2002. The present request is to release of the performance guarantee posted that for the separate for Woodward Drive. Subject to the verification of the township clerk and the chief financial officer, the following performance guarantee to $56,595 are posted for Woodward Drive. The bond amount, performance bond, was $50,000 $935.50. 10% cash was $5,659.50. There has been no previous reduction of this performance guarantee. This office has performed an inspection of the bonded site improvement works and finds that the bonded items have been completed satisfactorily. As of today, we have not received any complaints from the neighboring property owners following the recent completion of the bonding items that are referenced above for the Woodward Drive. We recommend a reduction of the performance guarantee subject to the following conditions. There are two conditions. One is submission of a two-year maintenance bond, a maintenance guarantee in the amount of $8,489.25, and the other one is for payment of all outstanding escrow fees, if any.
My understanding that the maintenance guarantee cannot be posted until the bond is returned. The bonding company requires the bond to be returned, and they'll issue the maintenance guarantee, and the builder will provide that.
Once we get the resolutions, we will release the bond.
Thank you.
You through? Thank you very much. I will open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come up and speak about this issue? Seeing no one, I will close the public portion. And now, council, questions, comments? No? Move it. Okay.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Merwin and a second by Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pinder. Thank you. Have a good evening. Next is ordinance for second reading. It's ordinance number 2018-12, fixing the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Old Bridge for calendar years 2018 through 2019. Anyone from the public that would like to be heard? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion. Council?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
My only, is this normal that, what is this run in correlation with the contracts of the bargaining units? Is it normal for a 2-year or a 3-year?
Well, you know, it's a little bit different from the previous years, but it's not unusual. We have completed a contract negotiation with 8 of 9 bargaining unit, and we're almost close to completion on the final one, and all of those contracts going to run through 2021. So felt that it was appropriate now, you know, that we authorize these department heads a salary adjustment for the next 2 years. Obviously, we can't go past the 2 years with the new governing body, you know, new members were coming on board maybe, or, you know, maybe same elected, but that there's a change, there could be change, so we can only go up to 2 years. And so, I mean, a little bit different, but not unusual.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? Mr. Murphy?
As far as you know, has it ever been done in Old Bridge before? I looked it up. I couldn't find it, but I may have missed it.
In the longest period, near longest period, no. That we have not done 2 years in the recent years. I mean, I don't recall in the past that we have done it, but we always have done the settlement after the settling with all the bargaining unit, and that's completed now. So we felt it's appropriate in line with the bargaining unit getting the multi-years contract.
All right. My question was that when I first read it last week, they only had 2018. When I looked up, I saw 2019, and they corrected it. So I thought something may have been a little fishy there, why it was hidden, but I spoke to people. There was nothing hidden. It was an honest mistake and everything. But my problem, and I'm going to bring it up later, is that I don't know how the other council members feel, but I don't like
voting on something without discussing it first. And once you put it on a first agenda, I found out, first reading, I found out last week you can't change it. It's already on as first reading. Is there any reason it couldn't have been brought up for discussion first?
I guess that question was asked, and I think the answer is that we do sometimes bring ordinance up for discussion if there is something, new items that we're gonna bring forward, something that we have never done in the past. The salary ordinance are done at this time after the budget adoption on an annual basis. And certainly, even though you couldn't discuss at the last meeting, this is, right now you can discuss. It's not final until it's adopted by the council.
Now, the other question, does the council have anything to say about the salaries, or does that come from the mayor?
Beg your pardon? I'm
The
sorry.
salaries, does the council have anything to say on the salaries? Don't we have to approve the salaries?
And I think I'll leave the legal question actually, but I'll give you this. The practice has been, and what legal opinion has been, that the salary of the department heads are fixed under the ordinance. Those titles are fixed by the council, by the ordinance. The salary of the bargaining units are also approved by the council when we present the agreement to the council, and council approves that. So those salaries are approved by the council. The salary for non-bargaining unit or non-department heads, the non-union members, are administratively approved, and the council does not does not vote on those.
Okay, well, that was my understanding. So basically, after the first reading, without having discussion, we're supposed to vote on it without having any say on what we think of the salaries, or doing a little research on seeing how they came about and stuff. Except to discuss it at this meeting? Is that where we would discuss this? I really don't want to discuss salaries at the meeting.
Any ordinance are, when they're introduced, it's the council has passed an ordinance saying, the first reading, because of the procedure, everything, that first reading is an introduction. Second reading is when the public hearing, there's question and answers, and we provide whatever the information you need.
Okay.
And I think I have given that information.
Okay, I'm going to talk more about something on that later on.
You through, Mr. Murphy, or?
Right now, I'm
Yeah,
going to come
okay.
back again during these comments.
Yeah, that's fine. Mr. Rizzoli?
Mr. Shaw, I just think maybe moving, into the future, if something like this, which is somewhat of an anomaly for the township, maybe we can have a discussion prior to that. This way we can resolve anything before we start going to a vote. So I kind of concur with Councilman Murphy on that. I don't think anyone's trying to give anyone a hard time. I just think when it came to salaries, we should have been a little discussion. And this way we can avoid any confusion in the future. Thank you.
We have no problem. I didn't think that was an issue, so, we put it on. Of course, we'll keep that in mind for the future.
Anyone else on this side of the dais? To my left? To my right? No? Okay, then
Okay. Okay, being that, I have a problem, especially with what happened last week where I'm not even going to go there. I have a problem with items being placed on the agenda under ordinance for first reading without prior discussion. Therefore, I would like to place a motion on the floor for all proposed ordinances to be placed on the agenda for discussion so we have an idea of what we're voting on. I'd like to place that as a motion. Okay.
Yeah, we have to, on this first, okay? All right, so do I have a motion for this ordinance?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mrs. Walker.
Discussion? I just wondered which ordinance we voting on, for this one right in front of us? Okay,
Please, thank you, Mr. Murphy.
thank you.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Abstain?
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 abstention.
Next would be preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, oh, God, sorry. John, I'm sorry, your motion, you made a motion, and who made the second?
I'd like to make a motion that before it's put on its first reading, it should have prior discussion. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I feel we should know what we're voting on before we vote.
I'll
Thank you.
second it.
Discussion ordinance.
So it's a discussion ordinance before
I
before
think
first
before
reading?
it comes as first reading, we should have discussion before it's put on as first reading.
Okay, she just want to clarify, make sure
Yes.
she's...
If they want to do it same meeting, I don't have a problem, but I'd like to discuss it first.
I second it.
We have a motion from Mr. Merwin.
And Mr. Rizzoli,
Mr.
second.
Rizzoli, second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I know sometimes when things are put on, there's a time limit, and if we do a discussion, we have to wait to another meeting. So if we do this in the past, sometimes we would have a discussion and we would move it up for first reading that evening, and it would be considered first reading. Can we do that? Because like I said, sometimes things are of the times of the essence, and we have to.
May I?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If it is on for discussion and there's a time frame that we have to meet, we can always move it up for first reading at that meeting for discussion.
Okay, does anyone else?
I would just like to comment, and I am one for having discussions and learning and getting as much information that you do for everything that you vote on. But some of the times that these things come up, it's standard business, and to have a discussion on something that is repetitive that we do on a regular basis all the time, I think is a little bit redundant, and I think you'll find that in time, you get familiar with it, and there's a reason why it's up for that. I have no problem with talking about it, but, you know, a lot of times, that's why it is in that process. And as far as talking about salaries, I don't pretend to talk about salaries. I don't work with the people that we were giving, that we were basically in the positions with these salaries on a day-to-day, so it would be very difficult for me to evaluate that person in that particular situation. So usually when I do the research, I do it on comparables to different towns that have the same land mass, population, similar situations. I think that would be very laborious, but the fact of the matter is it's not my privy to do that. I don't think I would be doing a good job, a good service to anyone if I was to pretend that I could evaluate everyone on a day-to-day business dealings when I don't work here on a day-to-day. I'm not in the office. And I could just tell from the relationship that I have with heads of departments, anytime that I've needed information, everyone is available. Really, every time I feel very honored for the things that they educate me with and the process. But to go ahead and do that, I don't think that's not our position to do that. So as I said, I have no problem with discussion if people are comfortable with it that way, but I think you'll find that it's redundancy in a lot of things, and that's why everything's not put up for discussion. It's not that we don't want to discuss it. You should know these things, and I think you become more and more comfortable with it as time goes on. Thank you.
I have Mr. Cahill and then Mr. Pasquetti.
Yeah, so what I'm concerned about is actually slowing down the process of approving things over the normal course of doing business in the township. A possibility, or maybe a compromise, could be, and this is at the discretion of the council president, is that if there's something new that, like take the salary ordinance, for example, which was different, at the council president's discretion, that we can discuss it at first reading. So then you'd have 2 bites at the apple versus one first reading just being an introduction and then second reading being the discussion. The council president has it within his or her authority to say, yes, we can discuss it at first reading. So that might be, if something is very, controversial or something a majority of the folks don't understand, maybe we discuss it at first reading, not normally, but, under certain circumstances. This way you'd have 2 opportunities and you're not slowing down the process of running the township. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Mr. Cahill. Mr. Pasquity?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, Councilman Cahill, I thought that was a brilliant idea, actually. You know, I was thinking that I would like to discuss these things, and I know when it comes to salaries, there's confidentiality, but it is public record. But I don't know how you would differentiate between things that are up for first reading and you're going to allow discussion when normally you wouldn't allow discussion. So I guess there would have to be some differentiator, but I do like that idea that the council president would make the, you know, let us know that we can discuss this item on first reading, then we could discuss it and then vote, and then it'll go forward without wasting any time. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes. I don't believe Mr. Murphy's talking about the salary ordinance per se. He's talking about all ordinances, you know. And I think it was because at the last meeting, he was shut off. He asked a question, he wanted, you know, some answers. And, no, John, you can't ask it, it's first reading. So, you know, this is where the problems come in, and there's been other ones. And you know, I think this is a good compromise. I mean, Brian's, you know, recommendation is right on point. Only we didn't need it because Robert's rules allows us. If we say 6 of us say we're going to have discussion, we're going to have discussion. You know, that's the rules.
Can I let Mrs. Walker and then you, Ms. Murphy, okay? Mrs. Walker?
Yeah, I agree that we should be able to have discussion during first reading, but I think that we should just maybe allow it, because we don't want to slow the government down. And also, I don't think we want to leave it up to a council president, because we don't know who the council president's going to be and how they're going to rule. So I think that that's the best thing, because if we do discussion and wait till the next meeting for first reading, it slows things down. And many things do not need to be discussed, but at least we have the opportunity. But I don't think we should make an ordinance. I think we should just be allowed to discuss during first reading.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Murphy?
Okay, I think Councilman Greenberg misunderstood what I said. I had absolutely no problem, and I said that before, with the salary being done that way. I would never have objected to that. My question is, I just want to know what's going on. I was not going to discuss salaries. I said, is that what we're going to have to do? But I don't feel it should even be a discretion, like Dave said, of the chairperson. If somebody has a discussion about something they want to do, now Mrs. Greenberg said, well, we already know what's happening. It's done that way. When I ran with them, it was like, we're going to change this. We're going to change that. We're changing nothing. It's do whatever they want to do. It used to be, I agree with Anita by Debbie. Now it's, I disagree with Murphy. That's all that's going on here. It's about time we got together and we worked. And I want to keep the motion the way it is. I feel there should be a discussion. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on either side of the dais? Okay, okay, Mr. Rizzo.
However, I agree with Councilman Cahill, Councilwoman Walker. I think we should be able to also have discussion and vote on it so we don't slow down the process. I think that's a great compromise. This way it will make everybody satisfied.
Right. I agree. I think it is a very good compromise. We have to realize that on this council, we do have new members, and this year especially, we have 5 new members. So I think it's only right that it's been brought to our attention, and I can understand how they feel as being new people. And I thank Brian for the suggestion. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good compromise, and I think that that would be the way to go with this. Have it that we can open it up to discussion, and then we could move it up, move it up right away. Okay? So anyone else? Mr. Pasquetti?
Thank you. So the reason why we don't, I'm not sure why we can't speak on first reading. Can I hear from the legal, Madam President? It's an ordinance?
Yeah.
It's an ordinance. It has to be appealed.
It's in the ordinance. You can, but, I mean, look, you can always modify ordinances, but that's the decision you have to make. So just so we're clear, we should be clear as to what you're voting on, whether you're voting on Mr. Murphy's motion without changes or whether there's a modification. So just so when you proceed at this point, make sure you're clear as to what you're voting on.
I'd like to hear how you're going to put the motion first.
I didn't put the motion, you did.
No, whoever's going to, no, but they're changing they're modifying my motion.
Allow discussion on first reading.
Council
okay.
President.
My
I think-
motion's done.
I think in the ordinance, there is an option to put an ordinance, then there is an also option to put discussion ordinance. And under the discussion ordinance, I think we'll put those things until the council, as you said, we have new members, until the council is familiar with it, we'll put under discussion ordinance, and as Stella indicated, we can always move it up for first reading at the same time. I think that will work without making any additional changes. I think this is something that we just learned that they would like, and I think we'll follow that.
Excuse
I
me a
don't think we
minute.
have
I think this is a council decision. I don't think we need your input on this. I think the council can decide on this their
Thank you,
own any
Councilman.
way they
Thank you.
want.
Well, I think we were just looking, for some experience in this and how things have been handled in the past. And I think it was done to help us and to, move this process along.
Disrespect to you, no disrespect to you, but what if we want to discuss it and you don't? Will you call us and tell us about it?
No. No, John, I think we would be able to discuss it, as Himanshu said, since everyone is rather new, the majority of the people, that we could do it as the discussion
So
and then bring it up to
What's
first
the
reading.
modification? My agenda was to discuss it first, and if later on you want to bring it up as a motion, as a first reading, you can do it. What were you modifying?
Because I think you want to create an ordinance. And we were thinking that there wasn't necessary to make a whole new ordinance, that we could just use the common sense and say, okay.
No, I don't think common sense is working here. I really don't. Doesn't seem to be fitting here. I think it should be an ordinance. You made an ordinance for that sitting
all right,
outside
that's-
thing. That was kind of a joke.
No, that's your opinion. You are entitled to it as a council person. What happens now is, I think we've had a discussion, and let's see how the vote would go for ordinance versus just, doing the discussion item. Right, exactly. So your motion is, let's be clear, you'd like this to be in an ordinance, correct?
I'd like to make a motion that we have a discussion before any first reading. The meeting we have the discussion at, we can also bring up a first reading. So I was trying to do that. I'm not trying to get rid of first readings. I would just like to know, as I'm sure a lot of the other council people would like to know, what are we talking about? I understand the other people here know how it works and everything. We're just learning. We've only been here 5 months, remember. You got to give us a chance.
Right, no, we're not disagreeing with that. We just thought it would, keep things on a track moving, and that, we didn't need to necessarily change the ordinance, make a new ordinance, just to now put it on as discussion items. And like we said, as a learning curve, have everyone discuss it, and then at that point, we can move it up that night.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
Madam President?
yes,
I'm
we
over
have
here.
to make, he made a motion.
Yeah, we were
But
just
we
going
were
to ask
we
something.
were all discussing, right? And I asked for legal
One
on it?
second. Go ahead.
Okay, so, no, I asked for legal to explain to me why we can't speak on first reading. You told me it was an ordinance. Okay, that's fine. So why can't we just modify the ordinance to say we could read on first reading?
I said you could modify the ordinance.
yeah,
That's
we-
council's prerogative, but my understanding, as Mr. Shaw said, that the ordinance already allows for that to occur,
So why aren't we able to speak on first reading?
because it has to be listed as a discussion first, and then if it gets through discussion, you can, as council, can then say, let's move this up to first reading tonight. Then the reading occurs, and you move on. If it's listed just first reading, you cannot.
Okay, so Mr. Murphy, what he wants to do is put it, everything on for first reading. Discussion. Then we can move it up to first reading at that same council meeting. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah, no, go ahead, Mr. Cahill.
So, currently, right now, the way the ordinance is written is that if we have a discussion item, we can move it to first reading right now. That exists today. Under Robert's rules, under first reading, even though it's an introduction, the council president has the latitude to let us speak about issues. So we have all those right now. We don't have to do anything. It exists right
My
now.
question is, why didn't this this thing on the
Be-
2018 come up as discussion
Because Mrs. Sohar moved it as council president for first reading. Now,
No,
again,
no, I
no,
couldn't
time
discuss it. I
time
couldn't
out,
discuss it.
time out. I have the floor. I have the floor, okay? Mrs. Sohar said it was first reading. It's her prerogative to say, move it as first reading. And it's also her prerogative to say, we can discuss it. And I think what we're discussing now is that there seems to be an appetite to have more discussion at first reading. So what I'm saying is, hopefully we can get that latitude. If people feel like there's a lot that needs to be discussed, we can have a discussion at first reading. It would accomplish what you're looking for. You want more opportunity to speak about an issue, right? And right now, at a discussion item, right now, John, if you have a discussion item and you get enough votes, you can move it for first reading. That exists right now. We don't have to do anything tonight. That exists right now.
But right now, you can put it as first reading without a discussion.
That's what we're talking about.
No more of that.
Okay.
I want to have a discussion first. That my thing is to discuss it first, then have the first reading. And then if you want to discuss it again, discuss it again, but you shouldn't have to.
Okay.
I just want to know what we're putting on for first reading. Is that such a horrible thing to ask?
Right.
I want to understand what's going on.
It's in place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in place already.
It is there. And we will make use of it.
Am I taking a vote on this?
Administration had just said they'll put everything up as a discussion ordinance.
Right.
Council President, if I just, when it goes up for first reading, you have 2 weeks now to contact the administration if you want to talk about what was put up for first reading. What you're doing is adding another round to the fight, especially with the salary ordinance. It's not really a role of the council to, we put a lot of time and effort into that ordinance. We put a lot of research, and those numbers weren't picked out of a hat. A lot went into that. And that some of those things shouldn't be discussed in public. Those discussions should be with the administration and how we came to that conclusion. And the same thing with a lot of things that come up for first reading. You have 2 weeks, Mr. Murphy, to call us. 2 weeks.
I agree. The only problem I had with the salary ordinance, I understood it was a mistake. They didn't put 2018, 2019. When that was correct, I have no problem with it. That's all I want to do is add the 2 weeks. What I'm saying, once it's on first reading, don't we have to move ahead and vote on that eventually?
It could be turned down at first reading.
Right.
You could vote it down if you feel you don't have enough
But
information.
you
have
don't
2
think you
weeks
should
to get it.
I mean, the first reading, I don't even know what the thing's about. I'm voting on first reading, and I don't understand it. Okay, Alties for tonight's coming up. We haven't had a discussion on that at all. We had a committee. We haven't even brought our answer to the commission, to the council yet. And we're having it on first reading, isn't it? Or did they take it off first reading? I thought I saw it on first reading for tonight.
Well,
On a first reading without a discussion. And I'm on the committee.
well, but
We created the committee on discussion, John.
Not with me. And I wrote to Mr. Amacho in my email and said, I'd like to discuss it before you put it on for first reading. Obviously, he ignored me.
Councilman, you constantly saying something, I did
Okay.
this, I did. Hold on. Now, you keep saying things. I was giving solution, you said you don't get involved. Now you're saying that you sent me an email. It wasn't my call. The committee chair, I was discussing with him, he has sent all the emails. I responded to it. It isn't my call to say, we're not gonna put it up. It was a committee, and committee chair had agreed to put it up. So why are you saying that I ignored you?
Well, the committee chair should have discussed with everybody else. From what I understand, the committee chair discussed it with no one else.
I have spent many, many hours discussing with you, providing you all information.
I have a phone.
So
You could have
please.
called me and told me you're putting on for first reading. All of a sudden, it shows up on first reading when I said I'd like to discuss it at the meeting. And you didn't say anything.
It was in the email. It was in the email that we're going to put it up for the first reading with all the options and all the discussion that committee has done. I was just an instrumental in assisting committee in putting together informations. And other council members are well aware of it. So I don't have a problem with you.
I'm a councilman. You should have told me something. You should have said, I'm going to put it on for first reading, or you should have said, you can't do that, which I would have objected.
There was nothing to say. We did say that we're going to putting it up for first reading.
all right, so
Well,
this,
I still think it's wrong. This is why I want to make everything for discussion first. The council has no idea what we talked about.
I'm not discussing council procedure, but I've seen this in several meetings where, and I'm trying to do best to work with you. And I hope you would do the same same courtesy with me. I have given you, we have talked about it over the number of times, and all I'm asking you is to give me the same courtesy that I give you.
I do give you the courtesy. That's why I wrote down I'd like to discuss it at the meeting. And listen, you haven't been always upfront with me on a lot of the things either, so there's a little problem there, and I have no problem with you. I just don't like that I feel like you're trying to push things forward, and that's the only problem I have.
Okay. John, I think, from this discussion, we've gotten to the fact that you think there is times when we need to discuss prior to doing a first reading. So, for instance, this is the cable one. If you have that strong feeling about that, that you want to speak about it, then I will allow that at first reading. So we're not trying to, not include you or not have the discussion.
You can allow something at first reading. You can allow a discussion. I was told last week you couldn't, or 2 weeks ago you couldn't.
Yeah, I can make an exception, right? Yeah, I can make an exception, I'm told.
Oh,
So
you can make an exception.
Right.
Well, I asked if you could make an exception. I said, there's no way we can talk about it, and I was told no.
Well,
So
we're
you didn't
all
know about
trying-
the exception? I don't understand.
Yeah, it can't be on everything, John, but this kind of thing, you had a committee and so on, and I understand what you're trying to say.
Oh.
So how about we,
Okay, let me ask the lawyer a question. When we bring something up for first reading, can we say, before we go first meeting, can we have a discussion? Or is that a town ordinance?
It's a discussion ordinance.
No, you can't talk about it at the first reading.
You have the discussion ordinance, you have the discussion, and then you move the ordinance up.
Correct. Correct, Mr. Merwin.
So when it comes up for first reading, we can discuss it?
If it's listed as a discussion ordinance,
Oh, no, that's my problem. That's
And
why
it-
I want
then it gets-
everything listed as discussion before it's a first reading. That's my question.
that's your motion then.
That's the motion. And then we can also do the first reading that night, so we can move the government ahead or whatever.
so that's your motion. Just want to make sure we got it clear.
I thought it was
Okay.
a simple motion. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the motion was made by Mr. Murphy, and the second was by Mr. Rizzoli. Okay.
Could you explain the motion in a concise, succinct form so everyone understands what he wants to do?
It's my understanding that Mr. Murphy wants to now amend the ordinances with regard to first readings so that all ordinances all ordinance must come up as a discussion ordinance first and then can be moved to first reading. That's my understanding of what Mr. Murphy would like to do, which would, can I finish,
Yes.
please?
Oh, I'm
Which would then change the ordinance as it's written now, where it gives the discretion to have it as a discussion ordinance or go on for first reading. And if it goes on for first reading, the president has the authority to allow discussion at her discretion.
I wasn't told that 2 weeks ago, though.
Well, I was just telling you where we stand now. So the motion is, if the motion is approved, there would no longer be first reading ordinances. Everything would be discussion. That's essentially what would happen.
And this way, we'd all know what the first reading is going to be about. I don't think that's a horrible thing.
Okay, so we have the motion and we have the second. Is everyone clear on both sides as to what this motion is? Yes? Everyone? Okay. Roll call, Stella, please.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
No.
Dr. Greenberg?
No.
Mr. Merwin?
I'm going to pass.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Okay. Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
No.
President Soha?
No.
Mr. Merwin, I come back to you.
Yes,
That's your vote, yes?
yes.
5 yes and 4 no.
Okay.
It's real no change. It's no change.
5
Okay.
yes, 4 no.
All right. We're all good. Okay. Now, next is preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions
Oh,
and...
I'm sorry. I just have a process question. I don't
Yeah.
want to drag this on any further, okay?
You have a question?
What, So did we just move something for first reading, or like, what did we just do?
He made the motion.
Right,
He
but are
wants
we
to
changing the
amend.
ordinance now?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, that's
Okay,
the
I want to
ordinance,
be clear. Thank you.
Absolutely. No
I just
Thank you
want to
very
say
much.
one thing. If you would have told me, or Mr. Attorney Pizzoli would have told me that I could have discussed it and I had that option, I wouldn't have had to bring this up. I was told, you can't discuss it. That was final at the last meeting. That's the reason I figured I have to know what's happening. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's your prerogative, and we now voted on it. Okay, so we're voting for the amendment, okay?
So this will now be on the next meeting for first reading, right? Yeah, we can't change an ordinance by a simple vote.
Yeah, first reading. Yeah, first reading. Mhm.
Right, okay.
Yep, that will be on next meeting for
Very-
first
okay.
reading, okay? Okay, all right, preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the township council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion shall first sign a list maintained by the township clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Richard Afanzia? Excuse me, I probably pronounced it wrong.
Turn it around. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Epifania. I own Monmouth County Excavating and Tree Removal. I'm based out of Manalapan, New Jersey. My issue is that your Shade Tree Commission, Mr. Gary Lavallo, is a major conflict of interest. I have my LTCO, and I was approved by the state of New Jersey through the New Jersey tree experts to be able to work through the whole state of New Jersey.
LTCO.
Last week I did a job. I didn't have a permit. He shut me down. I respected him. I spoke to him. I said, what do I need? He said, you need your business certificate and your LTCO. I go to the engineer department. I give it to the lady. She says, you have to make a phone call, and this is the phone number to call. I called the number, and the lady answers, Lavallo Tree Service. I was like, this is Lavallo Tree Service, or is this Shade Tree Commission? She said, oh, no, it's Shade Tree Commission. I says, okay. I said, I got my paperwork. What's the next step? She turns around and says, well, you got to have your insurance again. You got to have your registration. I said, I have that all. The state of New Jersey approved me literally 3 weeks ago. She turns around with an attitude, not knowing who she was. If you don't like it, it's tough. This is the way it is. That's when I kind of lost it on the lady, okay? Come to find out, 2 hours later, I did my research, it's his wife. Okay? His wife should not answer. Is that you? That's why you're looking at me there? No? His wife should not be able to answer the phone calls if she's not on the Shade Tree Commission, correct? Okay? So now, I have a war with him on the phone. I lost my train of thought. It's the first time I'm in front of you like this. But he has 2 tree companies, I believe, my research. He's on the Shade Tree Commission. When I also spoke to her, she said it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get approved. Why would it take 2 to 3 weeks to get approved? He's also on the New Jersey tree experts. All you have to do is go on the New Jersey tree experts and see if I'm approved, because he's on that board also. He's just double dipping, okay? There's no reason to have two tree removal companies. If it's true, I'm not sure yet, okay? I know he has 1. I think he has 2. Why would anybody need two tree removal companies with 2 different names on it? Why? Because when he goes and does the estimates, he turns around and he tells the people, I'd make it convenient for you. I could fill out the permit now. But for us to get a permit, it takes 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, I don't do a lot of work in Old Bridge. I do a little bit. I'm based out of Manalapan. I got a great name. I've been in business for almost 20 years. And there's a lot more things I want to say, but I kind of lost it, but it's just wrong. And I'm going to be honest with you. If it ain't settled through you guys and ladies, I'm going to sue the Township of Old Bridge. I'm telling you just like that, because he should not be on the Shade Tree Commission and not own a tree company or 2 tree companies. And the attitude his wife has, that she shouldn't even be answering the phone calls. There's no reason for her to answer the phone calls and have an attitude. And multiple people tell me she has an attitude on the phone. Okay? It's just not right. Like I said, I have more stuff, but I lost it in my head. Sorry. I mean, and I'm telling you, I'm really going to put a lawsuit together. I don't care what it costs me. I'm going to do it because it ain't right. And if I get the money, I'll donate it to a charity. I don't even want the money. I'll give it right to a charity. And God's my witness. It's the wrong thing. He's not supposed to be doing this to anybody. He should be off the Shade Tree Commission. I'm going to make it my business to get him off the Shade Tree Commission. So I don't know what else to say to you, but you as the councilmen and ladies, you're not looking out for the better interest of the homeowners of Old Bridge Township. So he goes to a house, and he could turn around and say, well, I can make it convenient. So if somebody wants their trees down because their pool's getting put in 3 days later, I got to wait 2 to 3 weeks, but he's got the permit in his back pocket. He takes it out, there you go, how you doing? And he gets the job. He made me lose a big job at the air conditioner place 2 years ago. They were doing Arctic Air. He made me lose a big job. But he told the guy at Arctic Air that if I get the job, meaning him, he could get the permit 1, 2, 3 and do it. And I could have Arctic Air come here, and I could have a lot of people come here and talk in my behalf. And I'm starting to remember a few things here, and like I said, I'm nervous, but if it ain't done through you guys, I'm going to sue Old Bridge. That's all I got to say. I got 30 seconds left. I'm good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
You could stay if you want, or you could leave.
Anyone else?
Susan Blumig?
Yes. Is this on?
It's on.
My name is Susan Blumig, and I'm a resident of Morganville Road. And I came here tonight to share a personal experience with you. In August of last year, that's 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And following that diagnosis, I had surgery, I had 16 weeks of chemotherapy, and I had 30 sessions of radiation in a row. I have been declared cancer-free. I'm considered... thanks to very good doctors. And I'm considered a breast cancer survivor. And the reason I'm here tonight is because I'm acknowledging the mayor and council for advertising and making people in Old Bridge aware of the fact that this is breast cancer awareness time. And I'd like to say something to the women out there, that I know how you feel about having a mammogram. It's embarrassing, it's scary, and sometimes it's painful. But I want to tell you that it's way better than surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. So I'd like to tell you all to make sure you get your mammograms, and then you too can be cancer-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Philbin?
My name's Kathy Philbin. I moved into Old Bridge in September, and I just wanted to express my displeasure with the whole idea of a pipeline coming in. I think we're all aware that they're not healthy. There's all kinds of research and stuff out there that shows us that they're not good. People that live in the area, the danger of explosions and all that kind of thing. And I just don't understand what the benefit would be to letting it come through Old Bridge. My understanding is they tried coming through New York and Cuomo told them no. So I don't understand why we'd allow them to come through. I'm a little disheartened that there's not more people that are fighting against that. But it's not the first time I've stood alone. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
All right, seeing no other names, I will close the public portion. And now we will go to council member comments. On the left, anyone? Mr. Murphy? Oh.
I have a question. Do the people know that they can stay? Do the people know they have to stay here if they want to hear an answer? Like that guy left. And I guess my question to the council, I was under the impression he's not allowed to do trees in Old Bridge, Lavallo, whatever it is, tree service. Is that true, or am I wrong? Nobody knows?
Well, I think, I can't tell you with 100% guarantee that he does not, but I believe that he does not do tree services in Old Bridge, being that he's our forester and
But not-
expert.
Yes, that's, he told me
But
that.
I'm not gonna,
He
I'm not
told
gonna
me
speak
that.
100% then.
No.
I can't speak for him.
Right,
Right,
yeah.
because I had asked him, a friend of mine wanted, and I didn't realize, this was 2 years ago, I wasn't here, didn't realize what he was, and he said, no, I'm not allowed to cut trees in Old Bridge, so that's, he kind of confused me there. I just wanted to make sure that was true.
We'll have a Gary, maybe next council meeting, provide the information
Okay.
on how that's operated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Mrs. Brown?
I just wanted to, ironically, talk about the pipeline briefly. I know we mentioned it last time. There was a visitor we had from Princeton. I know it's something we need to discuss as council members, so I want to see if we can put that on the agenda for next meeting to discuss the pipeline and if we, as a council body, are going to move forward with putting up a resolution against it and also intervening as an entire body.
Oh.
Okay, and then one more thing. Okay. The other thing is we're going to go into executive session. So, Himanshu, hi. One thing I just want to discuss during executive session when we go into it this evening is maybe going forward if we can do some type of polling of the town depending on what a special issue is for our town. I know marijuana is an issue. There's a couple of other things that are really important to the people that live in the community, but I want to see how we can poll town members, or I'm sorry, residents, and see how they feel on things. Because, we don't always have a good grasp on how many people are for or against things. Is that a possibility that we can do
Yeah,
that?
I think there are a number of online
Okay.
polling services that will look into that and come back to the council.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay,
All right. Are you through?
thank you.
Anyone else on this side?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
The administration, where are we at with the residential parking in Shoreland and Bayview? It's been a month now.
I passed on the information to the police department for their analysis and review. I haven't received a response yet.
Like I said, it's been a month. Right, the
I'll follow up with them.
the fishing season is upon us. The non-residents coming in fishing are upon us. All right, I asked a month ago so that we would be out in front of it, and here we are, no, we don't have it. I even asked at the last meeting, so
Yeah, I'll follow up with them again.
I appreciate it. Anything on Sunset Lake?
Councilman Merwin, I did follow up with you. I know I wasn't at the meeting last time, but I am having some discussions with Nicole. We did go and look at that property, as I know that we did do an access road there years ago to help clean up some of that garbage, but I should have an update for you soon.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's it.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else on this side? Okay. How about on this side of the dais, anyone? Dr. Greenberg?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to talk about something simple that everyone could do with no effort. At this time of year, there's groups of litter patrol throughout the whole town. But the town's big, and they can only do one section, they go on to another. And then we get complaints from people that there's litter there again. Well, really, I find it very disconcerting that there is ever any litter, and that we have to have litter patrol. That's something you do for yourself. It's a simple thing. I don't understand why people feel the need to throw things out their window. This is where we live. This is where we're raising families, and I don't understand, what simple effort it takes to keep it in your car and dispose of it properly. So there are litter patrols. If anyone wants to volunteer, they can call the road department and get on with them, and they'll see how effective they are. But what happens, people think that you're going to do litter patrol and you're going to be back when the litter's here. No, the town's wide and big. And we have to go from one area to the other. But if you're out, you'll see that, it's terrible that the streets get littered again after we finish it up. But who's doing this? The people that live here, people travel through, it's such a simple thing. We all talk about on a global scale, let's be green. Yeah, let's be green, let's be decent and just not throw things out. Let's have some self-respect. If that's the simplest thing and you can't do that, how do you expect these other things to get done? And I'd also like to talk about this past week, it's very sad. I got multiple calls from the area of Cindy Street and York Street of cats that were found dead. They were some wounds on them. I saw the pictures. They were put on people's lawn, and I don't even want to think of this, that if people are poisoning the cats, that is animal cruelty. There's a fine for that and imprisonment. There was a cat that was presented to me, to the animal hospital, that had its limb severed. And so I don't know the situation, but it looked like it had been in a trap.
I walk in the parking lot and this guy walks up.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, we're conducting a meeting.
Sir, we're in the middle of a meeting.
Have a seat, please. Have a seat.
Excuse me, so the situation is where, as I said, a few cats were found with wounds on them, they were dead. A few other cats, you're concerned about poisoning them. And another one with a limb severed on it that looked like was a trap, and they saw a few other cats that they took pictures where the limb was very swollen. So I understand that there are people that don't like cats. I get that. But there is never any reason to be cruel and to do abuse to an animal or any other living thing. And if you don't have respect to do that, there's ways to handle the situation. But that can be a felony, and I advise against it if anyone's listening who's aware of this situation, because investigators will be called in. And I think it's just very sad in the society. That little animal didn't ask to be born, just like anyone else, and I don't understand why you would have to cause harm to any animal, anything that you're not satisfied. That's not how you solve a problem. So please, if anyone's aware of the situation or any more situations, please contact the animal control officers, contact the SPCA, a state agency, and please be informed that this is going on. When I saw the pictures, it was quite disturbing, and I'm sorry to report that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no more hands? Oh, I'm sorry, John. I apologize.
Yeah, I just want to, what Mrs. Greenberg just said, I've been getting a lot of calls about the same thing with the litter going all over the place. And like on Englishtown Road seems to be a big thing. And I tell the people, look, this is a big town. You know, if you just see it in front of your house, go out and pick it up. But now I heard there's 2 joggers that are doing a good job. As they're jogging, they're picking up the garbage. So I've been riding around looking for them to thank them. So I mean, the only way you're going to keep the town clean is to keep clean yourself. And the animal thing, I'm not even going to discuss that. I mean, I care more about animals than a lot of people. And I know she probably cares more about animals than people. But, and she's right, they're defenseless. And, you know, we have a lot in the backyard, and, you know, I just can't even talking about hurting an animal bothers me. And I agree with both things she said. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, then I will close the council comments. A report of the township clerk, please.
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Report of the township attorney.
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Administrative report. Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Shaw, are you going to do the administrative report?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank
That's
you.
all right.
The administrative report for May 7, 2018. Item number 1, New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, NJDEP Blue Acres Program. The NJDEP Superstorm Sandy Blue Acres team began extending buyout offers to homeowners in Old Bridge in April of 2015. A total of 29 buyout offers have been extended to date. 26 out of 29 offers have been accepted. Hard copies of May 7, 2018 NJDEP Old Bridge buyout status summary report have been forwarded to the Township Clerk's office for distribution to council. Number 2, second quarter tax payment. The Township Division of Tax Collection will be open Monday through Friday between hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the second quarter tax collection period. The tax office will also be open between hours of 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Thursday, May 10, 2018. The last day to pay tax without interest and penalty is May 10. Payment received after May 10 will accrue interest back to the statutory due date of May 1st. For additional information, residents should contact the Division of Tax Collection at extension 2999. Number 3, Half Day Summer Camp registration. Registration is slated to begin online on Tuesday, May 8, 6 p.m. for residents of Old Bridge. The program will run from July 2 through August 3rd. For additional information, residents should contact Department of Parks and Recreation at extension 4999 or visit the township website at oldbridge.com. Number 4, intergenerational program on May 22nd, 2018 at 10 a.m. The Old Bridge Senior Center, in conjunction with the Municipal Alliance and Old Bridge High School, will be hosting the closing ceremony of intergenerational program. This annual program pairs up senior citizen and high school students from 2 distinct generations and provide opportunity for socialization, physical activities, and exchange of ideas and traditions. For additional information, residents should contact the Municipal Alliance office at extension 4022. Number 5, and this is, I'm just repeating what I had last time. Number 5, library celebrates building 25th anniversary. In celebration of 25th anniversary of building opening ceremony on May 25, 2018, the library will be hosting special children's and adults event for month of May between May 19 and May 25th. A time capsule with items from community residents will be buried in the library garden on May 19, as well as live music being presented that day and twice more during the week leading up to May 25, 2018. Refreshment will be available, as well as prizes given away from local businesses and the library to township residents. For additional information, please contact library at 732-607-5014. Number 6, 2018 Memorial Day ceremony on May 25th, 2018. Mayor Henry will be holding a Memorial Day wreath-laying ceremony at the Senior Center. The ceremony is scheduled to begin at 10:30 a.m. For additional information, residents should contact the mayor's office at extension 2040. Item number 7, 2008 Memorial Day holiday. On May 28, 2018, all municipal offices will be closed in observance of the Memorial Day holiday. 2018 Memorial Day Parade. On May 28, 2018, the township will be holding its annual Memorial Day Parade. The event will begin at 9 a.m. For additional information about this event, residents should contact the Department of Parks and Recreation at extension 4999 or visit township website at oldbridge.com. Number 9, Old Bridge Police Department, OBPD Special Need Emergency Information Form. The Police Department offers a Special Need Emergency Information Registration. The form for individuals or families with special needs is available upon request. Any information provided to Old Bridge Police Department will be kept strictly confidential. For additional information, residents should contact the Old Bridge Police Department Detective Bureau at extension 3280 or email mjeffries@oldbridge.com. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shaw. Anyone have any questions on the administrative report?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin.
Hamacho, number 1, the Blue Acres program.
Yes.
I was going to bring that up under the council comments later, but we were down there at the road department the other day. We're fortunate that somebody down there is cutting the grass, because it's not us. All right, we have all those lots where the houses were taken down, and we have multiple houses that are still in need of being demolished. Do we have any idea when that'll be? It's what it's caused is caused an area a lot of work for us, I think.
Let me find out from the NJDEP, because my understanding was, and early on, that it is supposed to left in a natural state according to the state guidelines. So, but I'll confirm with them, see if we can take active actions in maintaining those properties. We're not mowing them.
Well, I believe that was part of the Blue Acre agreement, wasn't it? That we maintain it?
There'd be no maintenance on the lots, that they'd grow to their natural vegetation and habitat. There'd be no, really, those lots would be off limits.
Then we're gonna have problems with mosquitoes and everything else in that area.
I agree with you, Mr. Merrill.
And you have that house on the corner, I believe it's one of the Blue Acres houses that are slated for demolition. It's just all overgrown and
Yeah,
making the area
I made the
a mess.
same notes. We'll find out. I know they wanted to do them in groups of 12. I'll see if there's 12 available over there.
Okay, I think we did the 12, so that
Yeah.
would bring it down to.
We'll find out.
Even less. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments or questions? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, it just bears repeating, you know, we have the second quarter tax payments, and the tax office is open extended hours, they do a great job. But, you know, if you're gonna pay by check, you can go online. I did it, I do it every time, from the convenience of your house, for $1, you know, you can pay the check online, and you literally do it in a minute. So it's just another option for folks that don't wanna go to the tax office and see Dawn's smiling face.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember, thank you for that information. And also, I want to add that tax office also accepts the informations and for automatic withdrawal. There are a number of people has signed up with town. In the middle of the peak collection period, they'll be sending out email notification before they initiate the withdrawal of the funds. And that will assure that your payments are received in a timely fashion.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Kitty?
Yeah, I do the automatic withdrawal for the taxes. I just had a question. Does that withdrawal come out on the first day it's due or on the last day it's due?
I believe it's on 5th date, right? Oh.
We usually send an email out about the first of the month just to give people a heads up, and especially if they need to transfer money into the account. A lot of seniors get their checks around the 1st. So usually it's about the 5th we do it, and then it usually takes a day or two before it hits the bank.
Okay, so when it's actually taken out of the account, is that the date that it's taken out? Is that when when the tax is due, or within the grace period? Is there a grace period?
Yeah, there's a 10-day grace period, and we usually do it around the middle. Like this month, we did it on Friday the 4th. And the email we send out ahead of time indicates that we're going to do it on that day.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, it generally will work out because the ACH takes a couple of days, so we don't want to do it initiate last day. So we do it in the middle. By the end of the grace period, it's all reconciled. And sometimes people has account change or something, we get to know that right away. And so if we wait last minute, that could create a problem for, you know.
Okay. How are our collections going? Because I haven't seen anything. Do we get it like a normal quarterly report?
We do get the monthly report out, but I think we are in a good shape for collection this year, and we'll continue to monitor that so we can avoid accelerated tax sale again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions about the administrative report? Seeing no hands, I'd ask for a motion to approve it, please.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Pasquetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pasquetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Next is the consent agenda. I'd like a motion to introduce. I'll go to the public for any comments or questions, and then open it up to council for separations.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Pasquetti. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come up and be heard on any consent agenda item? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion, and I will now go to council. Does anyone have any separations?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Number 1 and number 12.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Paschetti?
C7, please.
On this side, anyone else for separations?
Not any separation.
Okay, and no? Okay, all right, so we will now take a motion to pass the balance of the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Greenberg, Mr. Paschetti?
For the balance, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next will be C1, Mr. Merwin?
Yes, just maybe you can, I mean, I know this is a very big program, and we definitely need it in this town, but could you tell us exactly what this agreement between Woodbridge and Old Bridge gives us in reference to the opioid problem?
Thank you, Council.
Mayor Henry?
I'll do my best. We've entered an agreement with Township of Woodbridge because Perth Amboy Hospital and Old Bridge Regional, so same community, a lot of people from Old Bridge go to Perth Amboy, and what this is, and I don't want to violate anyone's privacy rights here, but this ensures that anyone who's been transported to the hospital suffering from an overdose has access to a recovery coach, a person who's been through this ordeal, to talk to them and try to get them into treatment. And I believe they reach out to that person at least a minimum of 2 times, maybe 3, to get them into treatment. And from what I heard, our success rate is pretty good. We have gotten people into treatment. I don't have the numbers. We do have the finances that we've spent. I think we pay about $250 per event to have a recovery coach in the hospital when that person comes to, and try to get them into treatment. That's the basic gist of what this is.
How much have we spent? Could you,
$6,500 last year we spent.
at 250?
Last year, 65.
At
And that includes
250 an overdose?
administrative fee that's charged, that somebody monitors this program.
Okay.
No.
No, no.
No, no.
250 per person, and there's how much administration out of that? Or is that above?
I think we paid a $5,000 flat fee for the year for administration.
So is that with the 6,500?
Yes,
So we only had 1,500?
believe so.
I'll get the numbers. I asked for them, they just weren't given to me in time for tonight's
This
meeting.
is-
But I'll let you know how many
No,
people.
listen, I pick them up in the ambulance.
One person is
and-
worth it.
And the biggest problem is, once they get the Narcan and they come and they're conscious, they don't want no part of it, you know? So if I know the guy, the prosecutor in Ocean County was a big proponent of this, and we definitely need the life coaches getting to them, so that's money well spent, thank you. I'll move it.
Second? Okay, moved by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Paschetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be C7, Mr. Paschetti.
Yes, can you explain to me what we're approving here? Because I understand the per hour rate that's being awarded under a contract, but I'm not sure what exactly this person, this company performs, what type of work, and there's no, maximum amount. Normally when I see a contract, there's usually a maximum amount of, and I didn't see that. Could you explain that to me?
I'll try. The time and material contracts, and you'll see several of them, particularly in this type of general contractor. In this case, it's a renovation, small renovation that we need to do. For example, bathroom renovation if we need it, not the complete overhaul, but the renovations, or in HVAC where we need a repair, or we need additional services on the HVAC. So you'll see a number of different of this time and material contract that we go out per bid. And because, we're required to go out for bid for any services that we're gonna have potential of $40,000 plus expenses, that we need to go out for bid. And rather than going out for bid for every time we need a small amount, we don't know when, what amount is gonna generate, we came to conclusion, and a number of towns are doing the same thing, where they have a bid for time and material and hourly rate, and then a contractor is required for any material to have, I think it's 5% markup permitted. So he has to submit his work hours that we authorize. He has to submit all the material original invoices plus 5% markup. And with that, we're able to get some of this work done on sometimes an emergency basis that we need to do. Because if there is a serious problem in facility that we need to perform the services on, going out for bid, or we have to do an emergency award, now it can cost even more. Because you call somebody in an emergency basis, he's gonna charge you more. Right. So this provides our ability to do those works. Now, if we have to do work more than the threshold limit of $40,000, then we'll obviously have to come to council for authorization and there are times that you have seen that we come to the council to authorize under the, for those services. But under $40,000, as under the our administrative code as well as the statute provides us administrations to authorize those through our purchase order. At any given time, council, wants to know how much we spend, we can certainly provide that information. I think last year we had a different contractor that performed services, and I believe we spent about, we had a $20,000 of expenditure to renovate the Guy Park bathroom facility that had to renovate before the summer season. So, I mean, that's the kind of work that is being performed under this service.
Okay, so that's the type of work Magic Touch Construction does.
Right.
Councilman, it fills that gap between the work we can do ourselves and the big project that we put out to bid. It's that broken window. We need somebody to come and if we're tied up on a project, where we have the ability to bring a general contractor in. I know, Pat, if we've ever.
Yeah, well, it's similar to our property maintenance program.
Could you get a mic, please?
Yeah, we need,
We have a contractor for that as well. That's a time and material contract. So it's as needed. Go to this property, take care of it. There's a work order cut. He goes and does it, charges us a fixed amount.
Okay, thank you. And it's up to $40,000. That's a threshold.
If we have the work that is going to require more than $40,000, then we have to come to the council under the statute. So, yeah, anything under $40,000 threshold, even if we get cumulatively at $40,000, then we come to the council for it.
Okay.
But it speeds up the process, get things done, and particularly in emergency time, it saves money to the town.
And I see on C9, he's also listed there. That's totally something different. God bless you.
That's another one, electrical services.
That's just different.
Right, that we need
Okay.
licensed electrician to perform those services.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Anyone else, any questions about C7?
I'd like to move it.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, so Mr. Pischetti and Mr. Merwin.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Peschitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be C12, Mr. Merwin.
Yes. It's a $40,000 change order in the CDBG road construction contract. It's a 14.4% increase. Did we get more work out of it? Did materials
Yes.
cost more money?
It was additional work done, not the found problem and we needed additional, but it was additional services. Pinder?
They extended.
Councilman,
Yeah, it's on. Just talk.
Councilman Mervyn, we did about 1,000 feet of the road, additional paving, which was in a pretty bad shape. While our contractor was there, we took the opportunity.
What road was this?
East Greystone.
East Greystone?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, great. I should have removed 13 also, because if I'm going to question you, like I said, I would point out when you deducted too, in 13, you had a deduction of almost $30,000 than the original contract. So you should be lauded for that too. Thank you.
Okay.
The pass.
Anyone else, any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Merwin, second,
No,
by
Murphy
Mr.
first.
Murphy, excuse me, second by Mr. Merwin.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is ordinances for first reading. FR1, an ordinance granting municipal consent for the operation of a cable television system within the Township of Old Bridge, New Jersey, to CSC TKR LLC DBA Cablevision of Raritan Valley.
Mrs. Sohar, just a point of order.
Yes.
I'm an employee of Comcast. It's a competitor of Cablevision. I'm going to abstain, and if we discuss, I'm going to leave the dais. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Cahill. Okay, so I believe Mr. Murphy had expressed an interest in discussion on this item, correct, Mr. Murphy?
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay, then we're good?
We're good.
Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, so Mr. Pasquetti moved it, and Mr. Rizzoli seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
I'm going to preface it by, I'm really not happy with the length, but we are getting some give backs from them, so I'm going to vote yes.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes,
And I abstain.
and Brian abstained.
Brian, Mr. Cahill abstained. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to the committee that put this together.
8 yes and 1 abstention.
You're welcome, Ms. President.
Okay. Next is FR2, amending Old Bridge Township Code, Chapter 10, entitled Vehicle and Traffic Ordinance. This is Poor Farm Road and Cheesequake Road.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Oh, Council President?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted Pinder to talk a little bit about it. I spoke to Nicole Shapiro.
Okay.
Hi, if you can just explain, we actually,
Discussion. We're not going to make.
so, yeah, we actually have residents here from the neighborhood and who are really affected by this. So if you can just explain it in a little bit more clear detail. I know there's a lot of information here.
All right, this was subsequent to a concern indicated by residents along Poor Farm Road relating to the increase of truck traffic along the road. And as per the council's request, we did the investigation for the need to restrict the truck traffic on Poor Farm Road. The report, which was produced by Nicole Shapiro, I think is in your package there. When we evaluated the truck restrictions, we looked for imposing a 4-ton weight restriction on vehicles on the road. We looked into several factors. First one was what was producing this additional traffic. On the west side of Route 9, the corridor, recently there has been some more activity.
The mic down, sorry, a little. Thanks, yeah, just a little,
Push it down a little bit.
push it down, yeah, thank you, because they're actually here.
Hello?
Thank you.
You can hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
This is the reason additional industrial activity on the in the industrial area on the west side of Route 9, contributing towards the increased truck traffic. So that was one factor we looked into. The other was what was the present restriction for truck traffic. Our ordinance has a restriction for current restriction for Cheese Creek Road from Poor Farm Road to Bordentown Road. That is a restriction for truck traffic, restricted to 4 ton. But there's a section for Poor Farm Road to Prine Road, which is not in the ordinance. Although there is a sign saying there's a truck, weight limitation on that. So at the moment, anybody coming south on Route 9, turning onto right at Poor Farm Road, will not see that truck restriction sign till they come to the T section. The intent of this is that we need a truck restriction on that section of the road from Poor Farm Road to Prine Road and on Prine Road itself. Now, we took several, we did an investigation, we took counts on the truck traffic on Poor Farm Road, Cheese Creek Road, and Prine Road. And I think those are in the report, which Nicole has given to you. Basically, 5% of the vehicles traveling on Poor Farm Road are trucks with a classification of 4 and higher, which means anything beyond a pickup truck is classification 3, anything beyond is 4, 5, 6, goes up to 9, 10, the heavier trucks. So 5% of the traffic is the truck traffic greater than classification 4, which actually translates into something like 150 trucks on Poor Farm Road on a daily basis. On Prine Road, there are like 2,000 to 3,000 trucks, which is 20 to 30% of the daily traffic. So Prine Road takes a lot of trucks. Then we looked in the role of Prine Road. Historically, Prine Road has been used for truck traffic. And we felt that it was the intent, original intent, when the section of the Cheese Creek Road from Bordentown to Poor Farm Road was introduced into the ordinance. The intent was to go to Prine Road for the restriction, but that was not done. There's a section left there. Then we looked into the classification of the roads. Prine Road is a collector road, which is wide, 36 feet wide, capable of taking truck traffic. Poor Farm Road is not, is narrow, is 30 feet pavement. Based on that, we made a recommendation. I'll read out the recommendation to you, which we made. Based on the counts obtained, it is clear that truck route to the industrial section of Old Bridge is Prine Road, which I just stated to you. Poor Farm Road carries 5% of truck traffic. However, due to limited roadway width, the residential nature on each side of the road, and the availability of a more suitable truck route on Prine Road, it is our recommendation that the trucks be excluded from Poor Farm Road. As you know, there are residences along Poor Farm Road, and there are not residences along Prine Road. So our recommendation is that this Poor Farm Road be imposed a restriction of, load restriction of 4 tons be imposed on Poor Farm Road as well. So basically, that's what in the package, Nicole gives you a bit more details in our memo to you. I just spoken to you briefly.
No, the
Yeah.
what it entails.
So this is, right, very good. Thank you very much.
Adina.
Yes,
Okay.
Adina.
So we're gonna go ahead and get all the paperwork drafted for, I don't know. He's, Pinder? Pinder. Sorry. It's okay. It's all right. Just a quick question. So Nicole gets back, I believe, in a week's time? She'll be back? So will we work on drafting everything at that point, or?
No, it's already
al-
drafted, hon. We're doing first reading. Yes, it's good.
No. As far as the actual, because I know she said an ordinance needs to be passed, but then going forward, we have to get the signage and all that.
The ordinance will be prepared by our legal department.
Right, by the legal, right, okay.
Department, and then the second reading.
Yeah.
and-
It's already drafted,
Yeah.
that's in the package.
Okay, good. And then
We're
we'll
on the
get
road.
signage put up.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Woman, once the ordinance is adopted,
Then
there is a period of,
20
there's a
days.
waiting period. Once
20
that passed,
days.
then we'll take appropriate actions to put the signage. And then she's also gonna reach out to, NJDOT to put sign on a Route 9 so that, they, by mistake, doesn't end up on a Poor Farm Road. So all the action will take place after the ordinance is actually adopted.
Okay, so that, like I said, the residents are here from the area, so I just want to give them a timeline. So
Right.
this could be another,
Well, I
2
would
months?
say at least the 60 days
Yeah.
before.
okay.
There will be time lag. However,
Okay.
we do need to get hold of the
Okay.
DOT, because if you are driving south on Route 9 and you don't know there's a
Right.
time, weight limit on Prime Road, you will turn right there, and you can't turn back. You got to go right to the end.
Okay.
So we are thinking of approaching DOT, see if a sign can be placed on Route 9 before the trucks, reach Prime Road.
Reach there, okay, all right.
So
Okay, I'll follow up, behind the scenes. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I had spoken to Nicole about that, and she said she was going to speak to the state about having a sign put up on Route 9 so the people would know ahead of time before they turned and had to turn around. And I think with the new warehouse coming, I think the truck traffic's going to increase on Poor Farm Road. So I'm glad that we're doing this now before it gets any worse, and it is very narrow. And the ordinance is written already. It's first reading tonight. Next meeting will be second reading. Then there's a waiting period. So at least it's moving forward pretty quickly.
Yeah, it is. Anyone else? We good now? Okay, so we had a motion by Mrs. Walker and a second by Mrs. Paschetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Paschetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohon?
Yes.
9 yes.
All right. Thank you, Pinder, for all your help. You can have a good night. Okay. Next is public comments on any subject matter. Anyone wish to be heard? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Jerry DeLellis.
Good evening.
Let you know that I volunteer now for almost 2 years over the library. And my concern is the library, actually the landscaping of the library. Got a couple of trees that were cut down, you got roots and stumps still laying there. You got dead grass all over the place. You got busted up concrete, which are trip edges or potential hazards. And I was just going to ask if you folks could take some consideration, take a look at it. I think it's a bad show. And I spent 10 years at Disney, so there you go. That's all I have to offer.
Definitely look into it.
Folks could take a look at that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Anyone else want to be heard from the public? Come forward, please.
Golly gee, I have a long list. Nina Jockno, it's 203 West Greystone Road, Owen Henry's neighbor, and also John Murphy's. Okay, so I wanted to ask you a few questions. The life coach thing is what, $6,500? Is that what I was hearing? Something about that?
Yeah, total spend last year was $6,500.
That's not that much money, but there's something else the council may want to consider, and that's a needle exchange program that works very, very well in getting people in who are, who have addiction issues and are using needles. And they can also get information directly from people in the township without feeling the threat of being arrested at that time. And I think that would be a really great thing. It's also a good health thing. For instance, when you're talking about garbage, which brings me to the other point, Anita, for many, many years, I've lived 18 years on West Greystone Road, and as Ms. Owen Henry knows, I give the kids out munchkins and donuts whenever I see them. It's something people can do. If they can't help out by cleaning up or not dumping, they can at least feed the people when they see them. Oh, crud. Did I just lose it all? Hold on a minute. I apologize. I have it somewhere else. So there was the addiction issue. I apologize that this is all out of thing. But if you want to bring these people in for needle exchange, you can also discuss things. The life coach can discuss certain things: housing, counseling, food, social services. You know, those things can be brought together right in this very building right here, in open space. If you have any open office space, it's a great way to. That's what we used to do in New Brunswick. Okay. Anyway. I think there was one more thing. Oh, I wondered if the council, who's been very, very much against the marijuana being legal in this state, has seen the most recent news poll out that came out this past week. Has anybody seen it? 9 people on the board and the lawyer.
It's not question and answer.
So in states where marijuana has become legal, as not a medical marijuana, but as a social use, those states have had a decrease in opiate deaths. So for those of you who feel as though that the only way you can care about your child is to block the legal sale of marijuana when it becomes legal in the state of New Jersey, you should look at other states like Colorado and also California, Washington State, and Oregon, wherever it's become legal, and look at the number of deaths that have gone down. 42,000 deaths from opiates a year. And if we can cut it 6%, which is what it was cut in those states, that's a nationwide loss. We can cut it in New Jersey, or, you know, what do we have, about 2,000 deaths? I think we have 2,200 deaths last year. So if we can cut that by 6%, what are we cutting it? 120 people? That's 120 children, adults, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents that we can save. Just a thought when you guys are thinking about just blocking it before the laws have been made. Anyway, that's it. If I made my 5 minutes, not quite. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that'd like to be heard? Good evening.
Thanks, Council. My name is Gary Lavallo, and I'm at a bit of a loss because I wasn't watching the council meeting, and I had several phone calls of urgency that said that I need to get down here because I was being slandered and my name was being bashed about whatever from individuals in the back of the room. But my point tonight is I don't want to make a back and forth here today. I don't think that's the appropriate forum to go back and forth. I am more than willing to come back to the next council meeting if you wish me to do so and present to you how the policy of permits, interaction with the residents, and interaction with companies are. And to state my position unequivocally is that since the new ordinance was passed in 2014, there's been no removals done by my company in Old Bridge. The only removal we did do was for my wife's uncle. And that permit was processed by engineering, not by me. So in terms of full disclosure, I want to put that on the table. I know that I've worked with Mr. Merwin when he was a code enforcement. I've worked with a good many of you, and you understand that I take my reputation very seriously. And I do not step over the line and won't. But if you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them now. Otherwise, I think that it may be more appropriate. It's up to Council President, Mrs. Sohar, if you'd wish to come back next meeting, and you can prepare a whole list of questions if you like. You'll have time to ask me anything you want.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Okay.
Acceptable?
Yes, I think that's acceptable.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I want to speak on the Reported app. It is a good app. I find it very easy to report stuff, but Karan Desai, 20 Grace Drive. Nothing still gets done. I've gotten what seems like an automated reply. They say we'll send somebody out to check out the potholes. Nothing gets done. I send one every single month now. I've given up.
Where are you located? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your address.
20 Grace Drive.
Grace Drive, okay.
I've reported it all over town. Still nothing. And on behalf of Cheesequake First Aid, I know the budget was approved for our state contribution under the state statute. Just want to know where our money is. You know, we got bills to pay. Everyone's got bills to pay. I know it was approved previous meeting. Just want to know. That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Anybody else?
Yep. Good evening.
Good evening. Deborah Marquez from Brewster Circle. I'd like to first thank all the council people, especially Adina Brown, for pushing through this ordinance. Well, I know it's not an ordinance yet, but for helping the residents at Brewster Circle. I mean, just this evening before we got here, I had one resident say he leaves at 5 in the morning, and seriously, he has to wait for all the trucks to pass down. So it really is important to us that this does get pushed through, especially with the summer months coming and more residents out and about. So, and also I'd like to say that we don't want to hurt the Chevy dealership. You know, we don't mind them making their deliveries. They've never bothered us. They don't even come down Poor Farm Road. They just go right into the Chevy dealer, and it's no big deal. So, you know, we're not here to hurt the Chevy dealership, but we do appreciate your swift action. Thank you very much, especially you, Ms. Brown. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience? Good evening.
Good evening, Brian Murphy, Bushnell Road. I have a question and a comment on the litter and cleanup that was discussed earlier. And earlier in the meeting, Councilman Murphy mentioned something about, do people know that they can stay and have their questions answered? Well, I wasn't aware of that either, so I'll stay so maybe someone can answer the question I have on this. First of all, I want to talk about the mayor's cleanup program. Great program. And I believe Councilwoman Greenberg, you mentioned something about just calling the Department of Public Works. Well, I know on June 2nd, the morning of June 2nd, there's a program because my daughter's youth organization is involved in it, and I see pictures all the time of people doing this. Is there a way or a place where these events are listed rather than me calling the Department of Public Works? I think that would make it easier for me to call them and say, hey, I'm available, but I don't know when they are. I only know when my children's youth organization is involved. Everyone else that's doing it, I don't know where to find that information from. So maybe if there's not, maybe you can list that somewhere. So that's the question I had. The comment I had, maybe I can or can't answer, Dr. Greenberg, your question about, yeah, it's not all, the programs aren't always out there. Pick up your own litter. Unfortunately, people are slobs and very inconsiderate. They just are. So, but if you're not, pick up your own litter. So thanks. If you have an answer about a place where the programs are listed, I'd appreciate that. Thanks.
I believe they're generally I have my administrative report
Yeah.
includes the upcoming street's name, and also I believe they're on our website in the recycling division's listing. So they're on the website as
On
well
TV?
as included in my administrative report.
Okay. All right. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion. Are we going into? Okay.
we're going to go into executive session. Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Old Bridge that the public shall be excluded from this meeting pursuant to NJSA 10:4-13 for attorney-client privilege matters and for discussion of personnel matters and litigation. Be it further resolved that this meeting shall reconvene in the public session upon conclusion of the discussions, and the minutes or other record of these discussions shall be available to be disclosed to the public when the need for its exclusion from the public no longer exists, as determined by the vote of the governing body at a public session. Motion?
Motion.
Vote?
Mrs. Brown?
Everybody has to.
Mrs. Brown? To go into executive?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Off the
Mr.
ass.
Murphy? Off the ass. Mr. Pescitti? Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes. Okay. We have a motion to go back into public session. Are we good?
We're good?
All right. Dr. Greenberg made the motion. Mr. Rizzoli seconded the motion.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes.
Hmm.
Okay.
First motion is, resolution is authorizing rejection of the bids for the contract number 2017-57 for emergency medical services for the Township of Old Bridge.
Do we have a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes.
The next motion is a resolution, or not a motion, the next resolution is a resolution authorizing the use of competitive contracting process pursuant to NJSA 40A:11.4.1 to secure proposals for emergency medical services.
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Pescitti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Abstain.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstention.
Okay. We have council comments. Anyone wish to make a
We have to
comment?
do the
Oh,
dispatcher
oh, I'm sorry.
contract.
I apologize. Yep.
The one that you just gave me? Yeah.
Mhm.
The negotiation.
Okay. Whereas the collective negotiation agreement between the Township of Old Bridge, hereinafter referred to as Township, and Old Bridge Dispatchers Union, FPTE Local 196, hereinafter referred to as the Union, expired on December 31st, 2015. And whereas the Township and the Union have negotiated and agreed upon the terms to a successor collective negotiations agreement set forth in the Memorandum of Agreement executed on executed on May 7th, 2018, attached hereto as Exhibit A, and whereas the memorandum of agreement was ratified by the members of the union and the township was notified of the ratification by union on May 3rd, 2018, and whereas the township of Old Bridge is desirous of ratifying the agreement upon terms to the successor collective negotiations agreement set forth in the memorandum of agreement executed on May 7th, 2018, and now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, and State of New Jersey, that the memorandum of agreement executed on May 7th, 2018, was the Old Bridge Dispatchers Union, IFPTE, Local 196, for the period from January 1st, 2016, through December 31st, 2020, is thereby ratified.
Make a motion.
Mr. Murphy made the motion. Mr. Pescitti made the second.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Murphy. Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes.
Okay, we're good? Okay, now anyone for council comments before we make a motion to adjourn?
Real quick.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Rizzoli.
Yeah, I just want to comment really quick. It's, I think it's really starting to get unfortunate that we have certain people in our community, and including some elected officials, who seem to have the need to want to pander to the criminal element of our society. So when I hear someone come in here and talk about needle exchange programs, I can assure the residents, I took my oath and I take it very seriously. That during the oath, it didn't say you get to pick and choose what law you like and what law you don't like, and you don't have to enforce it. So our number one priority on this council is public safety and protecting our children and community. We continuously have had people come in here the last few meetings talking about drugs and how great it is and how it prevents this and stops that. I will never vote for a needle exchange program in this community. I just want to assure the residents that I will never vote for any type of drug use in this community to be put out in a public area for some type of spectacle. Okay, everything seems to be like the flavor of the month. 2 years ago, it was a group of people, it was the anti-law enforcement thing. Now it's let's break federal law. Now it's let's change state law. It's always about an excuse to break the law. Well, how about this? How about we start all acting like adults and start following the law and set examples for our children? Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Pescitti?
Yes, I just wanted to, Councilman Murphy said that we weren't getting anything done on the council, and I want to totally disagree with him. I know government sometimes takes a little longer than the public sector, but since I've been on the council, we've, in my opinion, have moved many things forward. There's a lot of things getting done. There's a lot of stuff in the background. There's committees, there's a lot of work. This is no part-time job. This is more than full-time for most of us. And there's things going on all the time. You're researching and, making the town better, making it better for the residents. So I just wanted to refute that. Thank you.
Anyone else on this side? Good. Mr. Murphy?
Yes. All right. Well, I guess I'm just looking for things to go a little faster than they've been going, and that's the way I am. I'm not very patient with a lot of things. What I was trying to really convey was I just don't like the fighting and the arguing among everybody, and I'd like to everybody work together. I do agree with him. A lot of things have become better since I've been on here. I'm learning more, so I'm seeing what actually happens. I've seen that a lot of things the mayor has done in the past were good. I'm seeing a lot of things, and I'm seeing us work together, but not as much as I think we could. And and I guess I'm just looking for things to change overnight, and I've got 4 years to do that. And I'll take a back step to Mr. Pescitti and say things have been moving. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing no hands, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? President Soha?
Thank
Eight yes, okay, okay.